This is my desk. It can move, has room for my entire personality, and there's a 42-inch TV hiding inside. And as the pretentious amateur creator that I am, I could probably find at least 11 more reasons for why it's cool, why you should build one too, and of course, why it will change your life. However, the fact of it is, I built this desk for two reasons. I got carried away when upgrading my setup, and I wanted to see if it would work. Now that we're here, and since the desk has created so much headache for everyone in the living room over the last few months, I figured the least I could do was share it with you. So here we are. The dream creative desk you didn't know you never needed. Speaking of things that arguably shouldn't exist, here's my old setup. Needless to say, I have always been good at hiding stuff, but when my monitor wanted back to its former owner, I figured it was time to change it up a bit. So I turned to YouTube looking for inspiration, as I always do. Saw some people using the TV as a monitor and got a bit carried away. I did consider using a vertical lift, but decided against it, as I would have less storage space and the desk would need to be much bigger. After a few rounds of critique from the apartment committee, I finally got the approval and was ready to go. The only obstacle standing between me and my dream desk now was, well, everything, as I had no starting point and very little tools to build with. Luckily, I have cool colleagues who own stuff, so I borrowed some of it and was kindly offered a huge wooden tabletop that had been dusting away in the office. Thanks, Christian. At this point, I had some idea as to how the desk could be built, so I went to buy some more stuff, and after all the buying and borrowing, it was finally time to build. I used a circle saw to cut up the massive wooden board into 4 parts that would form the desk frame, and added some more material from my old desk and from this shelf I built a few years ago. Very cool. Dimensions were sort of given: 160 centimeters wide, 85 centimeters deep, and 75 centimeters high, as that was the maximum I could get out of the old tabletop. The cuts were made with a 45-degree angle on the short sides for seamless edges, and I made another 10 cm deep cutout in the bottom part of the frame to get a bit more room for my legs, which I had completely forgotten about in the initial cutting. And with that, it was time to start building. I began by fastening 8 wheels underneath, so the desk could easily be moved around the apartment. As for the supporting structure, I decided to figure it out as I built it, since I wasn't sure exactly how much stability it would need. I had a few constraints that could guide the process though, namely the depth of the structure, which included leaving some room for shelves in the front and a comfortable sitting position in the back. The compartments on the sides needed to be taken into account, as I wanted to have enough space to fit drawings in at least A2 format on one side and my computer on the other. And lastly, the height. I planned to have a second desk surface underneath the top, with some room between for the TV, which would be mounted underneath the top and needed some air between the screen and the desk surface. I also took care to think about how I would route the cables from the TV directly out of sight, and finally fixed it all together. Speaking of the TV, I wanted a way to open the desk in a practical way without the mechanisms being visible from the outside or distracting when in an open position. But at the same time, it needed to be robust enough to carry the load of the TV and the massive wooden desktop. So, after reinforcing the desktop with some wood boards, I added these massive metal hangers which can fit a 1 cm metal rod inside. I then drilled a hole in the wood slats of each end and placed these hollow metal fittings inside, which can hold the metal rod. Needless to say, I was pretty excited at this point, though I hadn't beaten the final boss yet, namely adding the TV. I went with a slim wall mount called One for All that I carefully positioned between the wood boards, making sure to not get it perfectly leveled so I would have to fix it later. Bear in mind that the fastening mechanism on this mount is not meant to carry the load of the TV in a horizontal position, as the lower part will only be held up by a screw, so I won't recommend this solution and will be looking for a different mount myself down the line. But since I went for the LG C4 42-inch OLED TV, which is only 10 kilos, I figured I'd give it a go. It's also 4.1 centimeter thick, which means it won't take up too much space and allows for the height of both desk surfaces to be close to 75 centimeter, which is ideal for me. I positioned the wood boards to lie directly behind the back part of the TV, allowing them to be completely hidden. And after tightening the bottom screws of the brackets until my hands hurt, I was thrilled to stand back and have a look at how the pieces had come together. I should mention that I considered the 48-inch model of this TV as well, which was actually the same price at the time, but after looking at both models in the store, I figured the bigger model would give me too much eye strain when working long hours. It would also add 5 more kilos for 6 extra inches, which was not a trade I was willing to make. The only thing left now was to build the front. I ordered an 8mm solid colored MDF board, which I cut into all the parts I needed, and I do not recommend doing this inside, as I can still find dust particles several months after. I screwed the parts to the frame and used glue wherever necessary to avoid any screws being visible from the front, which was meticulous work, but I'm pretty happy with the result. And with that, the desk was finished. All I needed now was to optimize the equipment I use on an everyday basis to make the experience of working on this desk as good as possible. I naturally went for a wireless setup. I decided on the Razer Basilisk V3, which is supposed to be a stellar option for both productivity and gaming, and so far I've been very pleased with it. On the keyboard side, I went with the Lemon Key P1 Pro, which is a 75% mechanical keyboard that comes in a metal casing, and although I'm no expert, I honestly have to say that the typing experience on this thing is superb. As for the TV, I was a bit nervous about how it would feel over time to use such a big monitor for work, but after a few months of daily use, I have to say, it works great. It has a 4K OLED screen, making it great for video editing, illustration work and the occasional movie night. There are also plenty of software tools available to optimize its use as a PC monitor, which you can easily find with a quick search on YouTube. And pairing it with my handy little Xbox Elite Series 2 controller, it's really a pleasure to be able to take advantage of all the qualities of this TV. I'm still tweaking and adding more stuff to the desk every week, like the shelves I'm planning to add underneath and the wood coverings I'm planning for the back. And, well, I could go on and on, but I'm gonna end it here. I'll try to put links to everything I mentioned in this video in the description, so you can learn more. And I hope this video was helpful in coming up with your own setup. If you're curious about how the desk holds up over time, let me know in the comments, and I'll try to make a follow-up video about it. And if you want to see what projects I'll be using the desk for, make sure to stay tuned for my upcoming videos, where I will be utilizing this desk to its full potential. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.